So even though they have to disclose their intent to do it, the actual execution of it is left at their discretion.
A lot of the good opportunities were just kept by gatekeepers, by institutional investors, by insiders who have knowledge and access. Very, very simple strategy that's been held as a secret for many years, right? But now everyone has access.
Malisha, welcome to Unblock'd. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You are a founder and the CEO of Streamflow, which is a Solana-based token distribution platform, which includes, I think, vesting, staking, airdrops, and token management for Web3 projects. And I want to obviously talk to you about that, but I'd love to understand a bit about yourself and what had you lead into crypto and to build Streamflow firstly.
Yes, I mean, with this type of questions, you don't really know how far you should go with the story, but essentially, ever since I've known myself, I've been like a problem solver, and I had a huge passion for computers, and then afterwards software ever since I was like 6 years old. And essentially, my whole path was leading towards like engineering, software development, and then, solving some real problems with these tools at the end of the day. Like all of these are like tools, some more, some less sophisticated, to solve some of the people problems. Um, and I don't know if you would like me to go into the origin story of Streamflow.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. But so it sounds like you were really technically passionate from like a childhood is what you're saying.
Yes, my father was working with computers among the first people, in Yugoslavia back in the day, in communist Yugoslavia, where this was not very popular in the 80s. And then he kind of got me into the world. I just, started learning by his side, and I am forever grateful and thankful for that opportunity. But yeah, it was always doing something, fixing something, having this technical and engineering background.
Yeah, so he kind of was also into similar things to you and mentored you and supported you in developing all the skills that you've got today.
Well, I am very thankful actually that he didn't meddle too much. He was just supportive of all my decisions throughout childhood and while growing up. And that includes like choosing a high school, choosing a university. He was just very supportive and just, gave me an open path that I could walk through and build my own path, forge my own destiny.
Wow.
It's not like he was kind of pushing me in one direction or another, but I had the opportunity to just, like steal the knowledge from him, and then he was supportive to just let me become what I am today.
It sounds like his trust in you gave you confidence and freedom as well as those skills.
Yes, and I think this is applicable not just in that parent-child relationship, but in general. Like, both of you and myself, we're leading our teams, leading companies, and you can see how people react. Different people in different way, but very often I think leaders find themselves surprised when they give autonomy, and trust in some of their best people, and then they perform extraordinary. It's like this transition is something that was not natural to me personally, because there are different leading styles, different leading types, but for me, I was like wanted to be on top of everything as a know-it-all, and then just through time and experience learned how to trust more, and it's giving great results and making my life easier as well. So lessons in
Amazing.
there.
Yeah, I think it's really about also understanding for who that's really important to. Some people want to be more led, some people want more autonomy and freedom as well, and to understand what people want and need and try and give them that.
Exactly. Yes.
Would you encourage people to do software engineering today, or is it a bit of a different world now with AI?
That's something that I'm still like wrapping my head around, because the development is so quick. Like it's such a rapid development in the AI sector that I see people who don't have this engineering pedigree doing some magical things, like creating, software and doing some magical things. But like at this point, I don't know how safe, secure this software is, because you're doing something and building something that you don't know for sure how it actually works. While it can be used in many different applications and use cases, I think for like a production grade software and for building a scalable company and business out of it, there has to be some foundation there. So you actually know whatever you vibe coded and whatever your agents are doing. So what are the limits and how far they can go and what are dangers and how it works in the background.
Yes,
It's
it
not
seems
a,
like
it's not a clear, straightforward answer, but like nothing is in 2026, right? It's like you don't really know how these things are going to develop. So I think it's still super useful. I think it's like you can look at AI as a tool, but if you have a software engineering background, you can wield that tool more efficiently and just use it better.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is that it makes a good and experienced programmers even better.
Yes.
And as a business owner, that it's something that can be very helpful, but it comes with some risks, a lot of which we don't know fully about, whether the code's good, whether it could be compromised and whatnot. And for individuals that are like early on in their career, if they don't have those engineering skills, AI is not going to like replace that kind of skill. There's a skill that you need, but you're not really sure about what they actually need to learn in today.
I honestly don't know. It's just it opens up so many possibilities and such a huge field for experimentation that we see. I mean, we're witnessing. You open up Twitter or you talk to a friend or you just hear here and there that like there are these solopreneurs, so to say, just putting together the AI tools and creating something that would have taken months and like many professional software engineers in the past in a matter of weeks or days. So definitely like some, how they say, like junior software engineers would need to level up their game, and the demand for like AI is replacing the demand for more and more and more engineers. But those ones that are really good will get like 5x better, 10x. I don't know, just much better.
Tell us a bit about Streamflow and how you created the business, and then maybe we can just touch on how you're using the AI tools in it as well.
Yeah. So given what I said about solving problems and being hands-on, I got into crypto when it was a bull market of 2021. And everyone was talking about different tokens, how it can be crazy. And I was just minding my own business. And then like I couldn't mind my own business anymore. It was just becoming overwhelming from all different sides. And then I decided to see what is it all about, what's all the fuss about. And then I saw that the whole financial system essentially is being, slowly but surely replicated on the blockchain. And I asked a friend of mine who's been into crypto for years to give me some guidance, and he gave me some guidance, and it's like the dragon's mouth opened and just swallowed me. I was in. That's it. Like 2021, 24/7. I'm all into crypto, and be having this background and need to be hands on. I decided to build something first, like see how it actually works, and then I found out about Solana. That was, I would say, back in the day, was not so obvious bet, not so obvious choice. And I was just blown away how fast the blockchain is, how cheap the transactions were, and how there's just this open space to build. And I applied for a hackathon. I could barely manage to find a single person to build with me on Solana. Like I asked like 6-7 people, and they were just, I got a tap on the back, like good for you, go for it, but like not interested. And there's not something, crazy magical story about how we decided to build Streamflow. We just saw what are the top 10 projects on Ethereum by TVL and found one that's not on Solana. Like this thing is missing on Solana, and like let's build it as
Very practical.
very, very practical. And the funny thing is, we built it as a hackathon project, and I mean, most companies and projects start by identifying a problem and demand and then coming up with a solution. Well, we had it the way around. We had a solution and we're like, okay, this solution, what do we do with it? And then spent several months literally talking to other founders, investors, people from the community, crypto traders here and there, just doing the market research. And then we understood that this building a block that we had, we could use it, replicate it, and build something like a full-blown product out of it. And that's how the first use case for Streamflow, which is token vesting, just like companies have their shares and have equity and they have their vesting schedules for investors, advisors, core team members. Well, crypto companies have the same with tokens. And essentially we built a first or among the first products on Solana for just very streamlined, no code, automated token vesting and locks and releases. And like with this product, we did our first fundraise, and I mean the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, you sit at like a very sensitive layer of the stack, token distribution, vesting, staking, treasury, ops. Did you always intend Streamflow to be like infrastructure rails, or did that emerge from user demand?
We didn't know, like, it's even now, like 5 years later, it's still experimentation in some fields, while there is like, we know there's a product market fit in this area, but we also experiment with other things, right, here and there. And back in the day, we built it in such a way that it was, these were layers in terms of, there was this smart contract program layer. Then there was an SDK and an API that others can use and integrate with and build. And then there's this whole user-facing application layer on top. And I mean, even now, quite a few integration partners that use our SDKs and APIs. So Streamflow is there like a pure infra. So we did not know how it's going to be. We just went with, let's find what is demand, can we build, what can we do with this, and how we can, fulfill that demand and then expand from there. I believe we'll also cover in this interview, but like this expansion must start from somewhere, whether it's from the infrastructure or from the other layer and then expanding into different aspects.
Yeah, I mean, at Breakpoint last year in Abu Dhabi, Streamflow announced USD plus your yield-bearing stablecoin backed by US Treasuries. This feels like quite a big strategic shift from infrastructure tooling to become a stablecoin issuer. What's the vision there? Are you competing with Circle and Tether?
First of all, we are not an issuer ourselves. There is a whole infrastructure behind it. And M0 is doing a lion's share there of having everything aligned, client, working with the minters, custodians, etc., etc. But yes, I mean, we're seeing proliferation in stable coins, and I think Circle and Tether would not have any competitors, like any real competitors, if they just gave away some of the yield. Because as I believe and listeners of your podcast know, these stable coins are backed by short-term US Treasury bills, and they take all the yield for themselves. That's their business model, an extremely profitable business model. And I think no one would want to have another stable coin backed by Treasury bills and give if they were giving away the yield to their users, but they're not doing it, not even 50%, let alone 90% or more of that yield. That's like one of the reasons, like we wanted to, just as I mentioned before, for now it's an experimentation, but we are in putting together plan how does this become like an all-encompassing payments platform with this yield-bearing stablecoin. During that presentation at Abu Dhabi, I also spoke about the founders who maybe don't have an access or don't have the knowledge to access some of the safe yield, right? Safe is a relative term, but like most of the people would agree there are no safer assets in the world than US government treasury bills. We want to give them an opportunity to access it. And not just them, like everyone else who is just eligible to earn yield.
And I think, I mean, with USD Plus, you're offering what 3.6% APY to holders.
Whatever, yes. So as of now, I would say almost all of the yield, there is some very, very tiny percentage that's being kept by the minters, the token minters. Almost all of the treasury bills yield is being passed on to a holder.
Apart from like competing with the likes of Circle and Tether, why do you think this is the right model for this?
I think every project or every dApp that has users and that kind of own the user, quote unquote. Think of wallets. Yeah, think of wallets. Wallets, I think, are a good example. I think we are coming to a point where like the crypto money becomes just money. And then all of these dollar abstractions, when we talk about stablecoins, USDC, USDT, USD, whatever, are just getting abstracted, and users will start seeing just a dollar sign in their applications, in their wallets, and then this technology will just, as every other technology, will get abstracted away to make it as simple as possible for users to just interact and move the money around. Essentially, you can argue about what are all the use cases for crypto, but two of them that are very obvious to me are, one, moving money around quickly and with as few intermediaries as possible, or without any intermediary, and that's a killer use case. And I believe people in developed countries and developed world don't feel that pain, but when you need to send money back home using Western Union, that takes like 3 to 7%. And then that takes days, and then there are wire transfers that also can take days. This is a killer use case. Like money just moves with a fraction of a cost, and like almost instantly. And the second one is the access to financial markets. A lot of the good opportunities were just kept by gatekeepers, by institutional investors, by insiders who have knowledge and access to certain funds, opportunities, companies. Then hedge funds used to have a trading strategy. I mean, they still do have, but let's take as an example, like delta neutral trading strategy. It's like very, very simple strategy that's been held as a secret for many years, right? But now everyone has access to it. Then having access to US Treasury bills is also like, not something that should be kept for a limited few, but should be given to everyone at the end of the day. That's my core belief. And these are just a subset of examples. And what we want to achieve with USD Plus is give access to these markets. And this is just one way to do it. There are many others. Tokenized stocks also are perfect examples, right? And everyone essentially can have an exposure. And yes, you can argue like, is it synthetic? Who holds the asset? Does it pay dividend, et cetera, et cetera? But we cannot argue that everyone can have an exposure to this asset through Solana or other blockchains.
Yeah, so just trying to recap what you said, Malisha, you're saying that the two big use cases that you see, like that are most important, one is moving money quickly and seamlessly, and then the other one is being able to have exposure to products like that any kind of sophisticated investor might be able to invest in.
Yeah, access. Yeah, exactly. Moving money almost for free and almost instantly, globally, and having access to like all of the financial opportunities that the world can offer. It's like a full democratization of financial markets. That's something that drives me personally, and think we have benefited from it, and I think I want others to benefit from.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very inspiring vision, and I can see why that motivates you. I just wanted to ask a question about your background. It feels like there's a lot of builders in the space that come from the Balkan area. How much do you feel like that strong presence across the ecosystem? Do you think there's any overlap between Solana's developer culture being really fast and pragmatic and having these kind of first principles that you've just mentioned and the environment that you grew up in?
Yeah, I think you're making wonderful connections here. And this is all, at the end of the day, very much intertwined. in a sense that, yes, a lot of people from Balkans are into engineering, are into software. And my view is this has been one of the few opportunities in like post-communist, post-socialist Yugoslavia, and then Serbia, and all of, Croatia and other countries as well, to actually earn a decent living in like later 90s and early 2000s. And you can like find a proof for this in the fact that huge software companies like Microsoft, Databricks, and others are setting up their development centers in this region, right? So that means that there are great engineers that essentially can do wonderful job with a lower, smaller cost than engineers from, I would say, the more developed countries. And another aspect is why, apart from just these builders and engineers in this region, why are they drawn to crypto, in my opinion, is that the lack of what I just spoke about, like the lack of access to financial markets. Essentially, there's no public stock exchange effectively in Serbia. Like if you had any disposable income up until several years ago, your only choice was basically a real estate. And there's this like almost a meme that like everyone is aiming to buy an apartment in Belgrade. It's like a life goal for all the people in Serbia, as an investment, as a life achievement or whatever. It's funny and sad at the same time. So I think those are the reasons why you see so much activity in the Balkans. Solana has their own communities. They're called super teams, and like Super Team Balkan is among the biggest ones in the world and most active ones.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that this kind of bricks and mortar, because that was seen as like the gold, like so safe as gold in the part of the world that you come from, because the economy wasn't as developed, but there was a real focus on skill acquisition, and there's a very, very strong engineering culture and work ethic there. And also what I'm hearing is like hunger for achieving things and doing things.
Yes. And the limitation just makes you resourceful in terms of, you have very few options, and then you have to excel and create more options for yourself.
Yeah, and when you talked a little bit about your style of leading as a founder and CEO of your company, how much of that is shaped by where you come from? Do you see how that background influences how you build and make decisions today?
Well, in this case, I would not like to generalize. I can just speak for myself, which is that my experience has taught me to be self-reliable in like all aspects of life. And this is something that I brought with myself when founding a company. And that meant, to be very honest, being a very like on top of the things and controlling. And it was something that I just throughout years have learned to do in a better way, not to be just on top of everything all the time. So I don't know if it's a cultural thing, to be honest. Yeah, I cannot make such a generalization.
Yeah, but it sounds like in your case, and thanks for distinguishing that as well, that being able to take care of yourself, having quite a lot of skills and being across everything. But as you've matured, that's nuanced a little bit as well, to also empowering others in that regard too.
Yes, that's a fair statement. I think we're all always work in progress, every one of us, like until we die. And you live, you learn. And my style has changed dramatically for, I believe, everyone in my company and around me appreciates it much more. So yeah, I don't know what else to say on that front. I like more and more when I give autonomy to people, encourage them more, and just help them when they're stuck, instead of like asking the right questions at the right time, guiding them to get to their goal and owning that goal, instead of being deeply immersed in their work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's just a fait accompli that just through getting older or the passage of time that you necessarily evolve your style. And that, it sounds like what you're saying is quite like a significant shift for yourself that you like very kind of intentionally took on.
And I mean, I'm also very curious, how has your experience been in this regard? I mean, Power Ledger is I believe it's a company from like 2017 or something like that. And
yeah. I mean, yeah, we set up the company in 2016, May, so we're about to turn 10.
wow.
And yeah, I wouldn't say I'm as evolved as you, Malisha. I think my team would probably complain about me being across more details than I should be. But I would say it's very similar to you in that I definitely have the ambition and intent to be more like that. And it's something that I'm like, yeah, working on. And with some people, I found that it's much easier than others to do that with. So yeah, I've got like some people in my team now that I think when you see people making decisions that kind of align with what's fundamentally important to you, it's easier to devolve decision making power in more absolute terms and autonomy than when you see people that are not taking account of what's important to you in how they work. So what I take from that is it's important to work with people for which there's trust around those areas so that you're able to do that and not feel like you're taking too many risks.
Definitely. And like you have to know yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, I realized I cannot work with everyone. I thought that I'm like super diplomatic and can adjust and work with everyone, but the reality shows that I cannot. And it's not, even if I could, it's not the best use of my time and just abilities. So, as an example, I have realized that I'm having really hard time working with junior people, like no matter which role and how smart they are. But there are some things that when you're just at the beginning of your career that are just natural and normal that you're not excelling at them. But I just cannot, function on that level and cannot come back to the same thing again and again and again and again until that person evolves. So what I have done is essentially I work with seniors who find joy in managing juniors and seeing person grow.
Yeah. I mean, I would echo that. I mean, I also have 3 kids, so I do a lot of that, in my home life as well. And I find like I've got a battery for that and it gets used up for my children. But I think on top of that, what I'm hearing with what you're saying, and I feel similarly, is that, for me to be really in my element or flow, it's like using that bit of my brain that's really working with people that have the similar level of competency, and you can move the conversation forward that feels like it's a good use of your time.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have any kids yet, but I think I'll have to, like yourself, I'll have to work with juniors.
Yeah. So you're using a protocol revenue to buy back, stream, and distribute it to stakers. I think it's on an hourly basis. And this is like quite different from like inflationary staking models. Could you talk us through like the economics and explain, if you can, if it's sustainable at scale as well?
Yes, I guess here, to be honest, is a part of the experimentation that we're talking about. Like tokens as such, as this novel asset class that came out of crypto, are still finding their place. Like, what are they for? Are they an identity, or for like a value representation, or an entrance, access to something, or what are they? And I think we are evolving from this governance model where like a lot of tokens have been governance tokens, or at least they proclaim to be governance tokens. And like we as an industry are figuring out, do we really want these tokens to be governance tokens, and who is really governing the decisions, and what am I entitled to, like which governance, right? Am I just entitled to some insignificant decisions or huge decisions, etc., etc.? And we are seeing it, every once in a while, a big protocol, and there's something like, wow, what's going on? Like Aave and their revenue, and like a labs versus DAO. We see Jupiter stopping some of the emissions, restarting, these big decisions. I think the stream token and these buybacks that are going on are not the final form, are not the final shape. And I believe that there has to be, like, if you really want to do it the right way, and like if you really want to have the token holders aligned with the company and the protocol and everything, then there has to be some direct exposure to to the company and to what company is doing. One way to do it is through revenue share and buybacks for people who participate in some decision-making process. These are stakers in our case. The other way, and this is something that I'm really interested about, is how we can actually, as an industry, go in a way go to make these tokens like a tokenized equity, to make it real share of a company, of a real company with real founders and with real rights and everything that goes along with it. I think Switzerland has great legislation and is at the forefront of this, but this is something that we are discovering and figuring out how to get there, how to get to that point, so people can just be more aligned and don't have to worry about the projects rugging and just leaving and token holders getting nothing.
Yeah, so it sounds like you feel like that's kind of the direction of travel that things could go in, and it's a good thing.
Yes, because the thing is, like, to start, this is my view, of course, I might be wrong, but like to do buybacks and to do a dividend payout as a traditional company, you really have to have so much money in the bank account that you don't know how to spend it better to grow the business. And then, it's time to start paying out the stakeholders. And I doubt that most of the companies are on that level. It's like, you can always use that money to grow business better, to hire more people, to put into marketing efforts, to put into sales efforts, to maybe acquire a different team, a different company, to go into another, to expand into another industry, et cetera, et cetera. And only if you reach that point where you're like, okay, we really don't know what else to do with this money. Let's, time to start with the buybacks and revenue share. And this is something that we are realizing as well. Like, in all honesty, it's like we're realizing, okay, maybe not, we are not that big, to start doing this, but rather further down the road.
Yeah, I mean, there was a debate at Breakpoint about this and whether, there's enough transparency, whether, with what's happening around those like buyback and burns akin to share buybacks. And there was a lot of debate around, how much transparency there is in normal like equity markets versus crypto markets and whatnot.
What is your take on this? And like, is there something, an analogy that you can draw from the power ledger and the token itself?
Well, not so much for us, although we have done quite a few buybacks, like just at the equity level within the company. But as far as tokens go, I mean, and how it would compare to, say, like public stocks. I mean, you could get authorization, and companies do that, to be able to do that, and they just sit on it and don't do anything with it. So they've kind of got an option to do it. You don't really know what's going to happen there. So even though they have to disclose their intent to do it, the actual execution of it is left at their discretion. And buybacks within crypto, I think, represent a very, like a buyback and burns, I think they represent a very small percentage of the total ecosystem. And I probably come back to the point that you made around experimentation. I think we're still very early in this, and certainly more transparency around what is happening is important. And you don't want like people trading ahead of the market because they know what's going on, and it's just not good for the integrity of the ecosystem. But having said that, there's a lot we just don't know, and you won't know until you try it. And I don't think necessarily equity markets have all the answers either. There's a lot of shenanigans that goes on there too. So I don't think they're the exemplar. Yeah, I think that, yes, what we're working on, as you've also said, is kind of like, the new financial system. But I don't think it's necessarily, we should just make it all just a Web3 replica. So yeah, I think where there's more at stake, and you start to see the things that might go wrong, actually go wrong, then you can put in some more guardrails. But I think it's a legitimate approach. And yeah, but when you see the market selling down like tokens, from burn programs or, distributions, it's saying that they don't necessarily have confidence in those decisions. And that's an interesting signal, I think, from the market as well.
Yes.
Like, should the companies keep the assets and deploy them, but maybe the ecosystem's not big enough to do that. So burning it makes more sense, because actually doing distributions doesn't necessarily enhance the overall picture of the project. So yeah, I don't think it's a one size fits all approach, and I feel like it's a bit of suck it and see.
There's no definitive answer yet still. As There, we saw, I don't know if you saw that, but Helium stopped their buybacks, I believe, in January, because when you just see at the market, it doesn't have the effect that they wanted. It's like there was
Totally.
supposed to be a lot of demand coming from this, but just the supply is so overwhelming that it paints a terrible picture.
Yeah, the economic theory isn't borne out. And so, yeah, they've understandably changed approach. I wanted to talk a bit about maybe like experimentation or even things that you're working on that are not necessarily experimental, but you're just excited about. Like, what's one thing you're working on right now that you're most enthusiastic about that you could actually talk about?
Let me see, what is it that I could talk about? Well, I think it ties to like what I was discussing. It ties all back to these use cases that I truly wholeheartedly believe are the real and good use cases for crypto. And that is money moving around quickly and cheaply, and having access to financial markets. So for Streamflow, that means just expanding from this infra layer and this stack that provides tooling and just the token management operations into, well, we will see, but one direction is more bank-like features. So like a business banking accounts and built on primarily on stablecoin rails, and allowing businesses, not necessarily only Web3 crypto businesses, but other businesses as well, to benefit from it and have their place where they manage treasury, where they earn yield on options, that several options they have. They're like curators that kind of pick and choose these options to present it to companies, and then companies themselves decide whether they're going to put their money or treasury into T-bills or into delta neutral strategy or into Borrowland on some of the protocols, and then manage their expenses from there. So that's one direction that's super interesting to me. The other one is what we just spoke about, which is like, how can there be more alignment between token holders and the company, the team running the operations and everything, which we're researching to figure out how can we make that happen through this tokenized equity. And essentially, there's this catchphrase like, to launch publicly on chain. Like, how can we make that happen?
Yeah, it's very exciting prospect. And the first idea that you shared sounds like it's it's about having all the products in a way that, from a user experience is very easy to see. How do I allocate my portfolio and actually implement that and see how it's performing as well, probably.
Yeah, definitely. Like, but we're taking an angle given like our existing customer base and the experience, the knowledge, and the brand. We're taking a B2B angle in all of our work. So how can startups who have raised whatever amount better manage their treasury and their operations, and how can Streamflow help them with that? Not just with one aspect of it, but from the get-go, once they raise. And the second is, how can these how can anyone launch a company? I mean, that's the end goal. Like, anyone anywhere in the world launch a company that's like legit, is compliant, has all the right pieces put in place, and everyone else can actually get an access to invest in that company through a token, ideally through a token.
Yeah, so it's really like democratization of investment using Web3, and also like of new company creation and new value creation as well.
Yes.
Awesome.
Not. I think it's these are just huge opportunities, and they might not be, how they say, super avant-garde, like something that's extraordinary, something that's revolutionary, but like, how can this be done much better with the technology that we have, giving access and managing funds much better.
Yeah, I mean, I would maybe just disagree with you slightly that I think doing that is quite revolutionary. And
No, I meant more like, it's not a novel use case. It's not like we are using crypto
yeah,
to, I don't know, go to Mars. It's like it's we want to use Web3 and crypto rails to build better companies and to allow more people to invest in those companies.
yeah. What would be your favorite Solana project that's not Streamflow?
Good one. I would say it would be Solflare as a wallet. I'm looking at it from a founder and business perspective. I think it's a beast of a project. It's becoming like one-stop shop for an individual to have their access and gateway to crypto without needing anything else but their offering. So I like that, how to say, vertical integration of the businesses where they own the end user, and then the end user is provided with the best experience without needing to leave their product.
Malisha, maybe you could tell us like the song you're listening to the most at the moment, or your favorite song of the moment.
I love to listen to these just how do you pronounce it? Binaural beats, right? These are like the frequencies without any words.
Oh,
It's just certain state of mind, like focus, motivation, drive. And then I don't want to like not by any means like a referral or anything like this, but I'm using brain.fm, and I just can choose whether you are doing like a light work, deep work, need some motivation. And then these are the frequencies that have no words, different types of music. It can be acoustic, it can be classic, it can be, electronic music. But these are the frequencies that just put you in the right state of mind to do what you need to do. That's, the general music that I'm listening to when I'm working throughout the day. On a side note, I started learning Russian as a hobby because it's very similar to Serbian. And I started listening to Russian music just because to learn the language better. So there's this song that I like, but I don't like. I mean, it's in Russian, and I don't believe that most of your listeners don't understand Russian.
So have you got a Russian song you could tell us about?
Yeah, it's "Он мне нравится." It's a very like, a girl likes a boy. The others are telling her that he is not the right for her, but she still likes him regardless of all of that. So nothing too deep, but it's just so catchy that like I love it.
Very sweet. I live in Switzerland, and I've just started learning Swiss German as opposed to just High German. And I've also been listening to Swiss German songs too.
So there's a difference. Didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a very big difference. Yeah.
But you do speak German.
I started learning Swiss German just like in December last year, and I've made more progress with that than I did with German prior. But I think, it's one of those things.
The songs are the way. I mean, just you listen to the songs and they just help so much. It's
so true. Yeah. Malisha, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show and to talk with you. Thank you so much for your time. It's great to hear about your background and how that influences your work today, both from your father and culturally coming from the Balkans, and how you've evolved your leadership style over the years, as well as what your vision in moving money around and in a very low cost and fast way, and also allowing everyday people to have access to invest in things, and creating tools that solve what seem like very boring problems, but are actually very empowering solutions. So it's been really interesting for me to speak with you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm looking forward to chat again, maybe in person in Switzerland when I drop by.
Definitely. That would be fabulous.
That was Malisha from Streamflow, building the infrastructure most overlook, but everyone depends on. If this gave you something to think about, share it with someone building in the Web3. And subscribe for more conversations on how founders are navigating markets, finding product market fit, and building through the noise. See you in the next episode of Unblock'd.